Bonita Business Podcast, where we bring you behind-the-scenes insights and unexpected ideas, ones that are creating business and career success right here in my chosen hometown of Bonita Springs, Florida. I'm your host, Bonita Business Coach Darcy Eikenberg. I'm the author of Bring Your Superpowers to Work and the founder of the leadership development firm RedCapeRevolution.com. I'm so glad you're here with me today. You know what happens when there's a piano in the room? If you're like me, you kind of can't help yourself from touching the keys or maybe like playing a little chopsticks. Or if you're at a party and another guest sits down and starts playing, it's like magic. They're suddenly a rock star, and me, I'm suddenly jealous. This is the world my guest Grant Billings helps bring to life. Grant's the president of the Steinway Piano Gallery in Bonita Springs, the only dedicated piano facility in Southwest Florida. It's a third-generation business, and not only do they sell pianos, but they handle all kinds of restorations, including, get this, retrofitting your old piano so it can play music on its own directly from your iPad. Now that was a new one on me. It's a high-tech but a high-craft business, and it's right here in Bonita Springs. Plus, you'll hear about how they're bringing experienced Steinway artists right here in our own backyard to support local music students. And finally, how could I visit Steinway without asking for a little concert? So stay tuned at the end of the show for a musical treat played for me by Steinway's Paul Nicodemi. Here's my interview with Grant Billings of Steinway Piano Gallery. Grant Billings, welcome to the Bonita Business Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited for you to be here. So tell me a little bit about what you do here at Steinway.
Sure. Well, we are the only dedicated piano facility in Southern Florida, where we do everything from new pianos to used pianos, accessories. We have the capacity to do complete piano restorations in our shop in the back. We do a lot of player piano installations where someone will choose a piano or they'll already have a piano. Maybe the kids have moved away and they want that piano playing. We can do the self players now, which are really a lot of fun, very popular for us. And we're the only one that's actually a family business here, where I'm third generation.
Wow. So tell me about that. So what's it like being the third generation of a family business?
It's interesting. I get asked that a lot. It's my family, I think, had a very different approach to most families, where my grandfather, when he started us in the piano business, although my father worked for my grandfather, as a kid and a teenager and things like that, there was never a pressure on anyone in any of my aunts or uncles or my father to become involved in the business. And I had the exact same experience. It was really never a discussion. When I was a kid, it was, you got to go and help your dad at the store. You got to clean or build benches or whatever. But as an adult, it was never, all right, son, now you're going to go to school and study this, then come work at the piano store. So I didn't have a lot of the same experiences that other people had of feeling any type of expectation. For me, it seems like a very natural thing. I think it also helped me that I had a career in consumer electronics and furniture before choosing to come into the family business officially as an adult. So I had a little more balance in my work experience than a lot of people that stay in family businesses throughout.
And so how long ago then did you come into the family business?
I, this year, officially celebrate my 20-year anniversary in this business. Uh-huh. And then again, as an adult, this would be 23 years in the piano business.
Okay, so why? So if it wasn't the family pressure and you had a career doing other things, doing electronics and doing other things, what was the reason that you said, okay, it's time, this is what I want to do? Because you've been doing it for a long time now.
It's an interesting question, because what I want to say is it was really the fact that I felt we were doing something special and something unique and helping impart a love of music, which has always been a passion for my family. Although, as I was thinking about a response, I realized that I've turned down several other jobs in the industry, in the piano business. So there must be something that that has me wanting to do it here in this way, but I'm really not sure what it is.
So you came down to Bonita 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, you've been involved in the business for a while.
Yes.
But you had moved down more recently. So.
I call myself a yo-yo because I moved down here in 1998, and then we had some issues in my wife's family that made us move back to Wisconsin for a while, although I was still involved in the business down here, and then eventually opening a piano store in Wisconsin while we were back there, and then the yo-yo coming back down, moved back down in 2014 permanently.
Okay. And so what, as you come back down here and you're in the middle of the family business, what kind of challenges did you find? Like, what would be something that might surprise people that you have to figure out, or a learning that you had?
I think the most important thing for somebody, especially new to the area, to keep in mind is so many people that you meet down here are from somewhere else. So 40 years in Milwaukee, anybody who heard my name would say, "Oh, Billings, are you related to Zeb Billings, who's my grandfather? Are you related to Greg Billings, who is my father?" And there was usually some type of connection there where people would seek you out. And down here, for people that are new to the area, there's less of that, "Oh, you've been part of the community for a long time." But I think that works both ways, where it's easy to come down here, and I think it takes effort, but it's fairly easy compared to moving to, Dubuque or something like that, because so many people here are from somewhere else. So you use that to your advantage.
What changed? What did you see changed from during your yo-yo years? So when you were here before, and then when you came back, a few years ago.
I think the effects of the building and expansion, because we were here for 6 years and we saw it happening, and they were coming back a couple times a year for almost a decade. And when you live here every day and you see a building being built, it's a gradual process. I was just on Saturday, I had dinner down by where our store originally was in Naples on Vanderbilt Beach Road. And I'm telling my friends, yeah, Mercado, that wasn't there when our store was down here. And they've lived here about 5 years. It was hard for them to fathom that colossal mall ever not being there. So the growth and expansion and how you notice that when you're just driving around, without a doubt, that's the most visible change.
So how about for your business? So, you've been in the piano business for many years. You've chosen not to be involved in other companies. You stayed with the family company. But what's really happening in this business is probably one that not everybody buys a piano, or not everybody gets involved with. What's the behind the scenes in this business?
It's interesting. My father, who's now retired, was in Europe a couple weeks ago, and he wound up going on a tour of a piano builder over in Europe. And he told me that he relays the story that he asked them, "So how are things going?" And they said, "Oh, it's terrible. Nobody's buying pianos anymore." And my father says, "Well, that's interesting. That's what people told me every year of the 45 years I was in the piano business." And I've noticed the same thing. I see these stories of businesses that have closed, and especially ones that closed during the recession and so forth. And I would read that everybody would be blaming, "Well, no one wants to play piano anymore." And I'm reading this, I'm thinking, I talked to two people yesterday who told me the story about how for the last 30 years they've wanted to play the piano, and they're not going to wait anymore, and now they're going to do it, which is a little bit different than what it was for my father and my grandfather early in their career, where piano lessons were primarily something someone would do when they were a child. And they were just in the 50s and 60s, adults were less likely to engage in those kinds of activities unless they were playing in church or going to be in a band or something like that. Now what I see is a real groundswell of adults saying, "Yeah, I'm working and I'm working hard, but I don't want to wait until I retire to do this thing, play piano. And I also meet people that say, okay, now I'm finally retired or semi-retired. I'm going to finally now do things I want to do, and I'm going to go and learn to play piano. And it's really incredibly encouraging. That's why I think it's a great time for the piano business, because not only has it never been easier to pursue that dream or pursue that passion, but there have never been more options to make it feasible. Online classes, hybrid pianos now that take up a tiny little spot in a condo or in a house, but they can give a really realistic feel and sound, where before someone, if they really wanted to do it right, they had to commit the space to a baby grand. It's more open to more people than it's ever been because of technology, really.
So you can have something that matches the space, and I'm assuming like the budget that you would want to, spend into learn this, and to have that as be, art you create, or to get the joy out of it.
Exactly.
So.
It used to be, if somebody wanted to get started, they had to spend a good amount of money, and they'd buy a smaller upright piano that probably wasn't very good quality. And then when they're learning to play on it, they're not getting the feedback from it that they'd really enjoy. It'd be like going parachuting in the rain. It's like, yeah, eventually you make the ground, but did you enjoy the trip down? Where today, someone can start with something more modest and more affordable, but really be getting great feedback while they're going along, which just encourages them to keep playing. The main reason most adults will quit playing is because the piano doesn't inspire them.
It's Coach Darcy here, and just a quick reminder that after the show, come on over to BonitaBusinessPodcast.com. There you'll find show notes with more resources, photos, and other tools related to the episode you're listening to right now. You can also sign up to get regular email updates from me as new podcasts come out. You won't want to miss what's ahead, so be sure to visit Bonita Business Podcast today. Now, let's go back to my interview.
I mean, I remember my old piano. Of course, I was one of those kids that did it for band or for,
sure.
My parents just thought it was a good thing to do. That if I wanted the song, I wanted the music, and I
right.
couldn't create. It was too hard to create that sometimes.
Right.
So.
Well, it should be hard, and I tell people this all the time. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And if everyone were doing it, it wouldn't be cool. Very few people are like, wow, you do a great job breathing. Just about everyone can do that. But when you meet somebody, and it's fun because I'll hear these stories about someone was at a party and a person they'd known for 2 or 3 years sat down at the piano and started playing, and they had no idea this person knew how to play piano. And all of a sudden they're rock stars. Because they've got that.
There's something really magical about that, right? When someone can just pick up that skill and just do it.
Oh, if you're at a party and someone sits down and starts making music, what's cooler than that? I mean, everything else stops.
So you're saying there's a trend right now of adults, of people saying, I want to invest in myself, and I want to learn this. I want to be able to have that gift.
I've seen that trend, and I think that, like with a lot of businesses today, the caveat to that is people seem to be looking less and less for what I call the get rich quick idea of doing that. There's not a pill that we can take to lose weight or learn to play the piano. It takes time and a dedication. And the commonality I've noticed when I hear about these people in my industry that are struggling, and I think I see this in other industries as well, they're not really doing it great. They're not trying to really promote the quality that goes along with it. And that's been happening in the piano business for over 100 years, where there's all pianos look the same, but there's vast different quality levels. And to a beginner, black baby grand piano next to a black baby grand piano, the stuff inside makes such a difference. So the people that are trying to say, well, I'm gonna sell people on this one that's a little bit cheaper. And again, it can be any business. I'm gonna sell people a thing that's a little bit cheaper. And when I say cheap, I don't just mean it costs less. It's cheaper. You get what you pay for. The ones that are anybody who's really offering quality and value to consumers now, because it's so easy to look through anything that isn't really great, internet reviews and so forth. People flock to the quality, and they tend to just bypass that other stuff. You think of the stores you see that open and close. Why are there so many mattress stores? That
Right.
I don't understand how they make money, but
Right. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I was just having this conversation with one of my coaching clients this morning, and we were talking about cost versus value. And, in her business, she was working on articulating the value because she's never going to be the cheapest option.
Right.
The skills she has, the advantage that people get when they're working with her.
Right.
And yet, we were talking about, it feels like we've been training ourselves as a society to go to the least common denominator, to go to the commodity. But there is a group of people, and I think we have this hunger for, what is that value? If it's a value that I share. So if it's, I want beauty,
Right.
and joy, and music, and professional tools and all that. So choosing the value, not just what's the lowest common denominator.
Yeah, I've carried on the mantra that my dad started when I first moved down here, where he said, we don't want to be the cheapest. The people that go the cheapest route being the customers, don't wind up in music being the people that accomplish all their dreams and have a lot of fun doing it. They're the people that wind up jumping through a lot of hoops and wind up saying, I quit because I wasn't getting any better. It's impossible to have a passion for something and to practice at it and not get better. But I think there's a part of us that also understands that, how many people probably picked up the piano, the little keyboard thing when they were walking out of Costco and got to play every song they ever wanted to play? Mm-hmm. We see it there and we think, oh yeah, that'll probably get me by. But so much about what we do these days, I don't think is about getting by. One of my personal hang-ups is I don't have a bucket list. And that movie came out, and now you hear about people all the time saying that they have this thing on their bucket list. And I hear the piano all the time being the bucket list. And to me, that means this is a thing that I want to try, invest some of the limited time I have left on the planet, which is, if you're not conscious of that, you're not talking about bucket lists. Mm-hmm. That if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to invest the time in it. I haven't done it up to this point in my life because I've been busy doing other things. And now I get to invest the time in what I want to. I don't have to make money at it, but I want to have fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fun's important.
Yeah. Why? What else are we doing?
Right. So you are also involved in the piano industry and the music instrument industry on a national level, or you go to conferences and
yes.
you involve. So what's different about Bonita in Southwest Florida than what you see your peers and other people around the country, around the world experiencing?
Yeah, everybody thinks that their market's unique.
Oh.
And I had that, we were talking before, when I was a piano manufacturer rep. I had a 7-state territory, and I called about 100 dealers throughout those 7 states in the upper Midwest. And every one of them told me that, Fargo is just so different than Grand Forks. I mean, it's night and day, folks, where, I look at car manufacturers, for example. Car manufacturers have figured out what things motivate people to go out and buy cars, and they run those ads in virtually every market. It's a formula that works. Mm-hmm. So the fundamental things that motivate people to make a purchase, I think in Bonita Springs, aren't that different than they are in Fargo or Kansas City. What I think is what is unique about this market is pretty much everyone's from somewhere else. And in that, we can find a sense of community if you embrace that. One of the other things I'm involved in is a non-for-profit organization called the Steinway Piano Society, which was founded in 1996. And one of the main missions of the Steinway Piano Society is to get pianos to economically disadvantaged piano students. And what's beautiful about this is they and their teachers have accountability to make you get a piano, and the society will pay for the piano moving. They'll pay for your for the tuning. We have resources. We're partnering with the Naples Music Club. They have a scholarship program that pays for the lessons. So we can make this for any student who's really dedicated to doing it. If they have an economic need, we'll get them everything they need to be successful. But to do that, we need to get money in pianos. So we thank our members of the Steinway Society by having small recitals. You saw the recital hall when you came through before. We do those, and they're intimate. They're 35, 40 people, and everyone is pretty much from somewhere else. There's a few really good piano players in the group, but most of the group are more piano enthusiasts who want to support getting a young person like that a piano because maybe they can afford one. They couldn't afford one when they were a kid.
So who plays at those recitals? Who are the artists at those recitals?
It's really fun. We have a mixture because we do a scholarship for Florida Gulf Coast University for a piano major, and they'll always perform for us. Other piano students at FGCU will perform, but then we also get Steinway artists, professional concert artists who will come in and sing a sad song about, this is for the kids, and while you're in town, would you come and do something for us? And we've had B.K. Davis, we've had Judy Carmichael, we've had Joe Augustine, who's a great jazz player from Ohio. We had the man who's the pianist to the presidents, David Osborne, who has played for, I think, the last 6 U.S. presidents and has sold 50 million albums, and he performed for us last year. Friend of the family's, and I saw him out in Vegas at the Bellagio and said, "Hey, David, if you're down, would you consider?" And he came down, and so you get to see the students, you get to see the performers that you're going to see on a concert stage in 5 or 10 years now, and we get to see these people who have the experience being established concert artists and Steinway artists today.
Yeah. And that's all happening right here in your shop.
Yes.
Right on US 41.
Yes.
So right in Bonita. Yeah.
Right.
So these world-class artists coming in and supporting the students.
Exactly.
And I saw a letter when I walked in on the wall where someone had, I think from FGCU had, sent a letter to your dad thanking for somebody a student who got to play in New York, got to play, on the stage in some theater in New York.
Yeah, Priscilla Navarro got to play at Carnegie Hall. And then interestingly, and this is also, I think, one of the things that's beautiful about our community. Priscilla Navarro is recruited to come and be a piano performance major at FGCU. We supported her through that. She's now in Miami pursuing her master's degree, but she came back this past season and served as a judge for a young artist piano competition that we do at FGCU in the spring. So it's this full circle of she wanted to have something she could come back and do to pay back the society in 2 ways, because she's performed for the society, but also in doing something for the students, the society aims to benefit. So it was this real multifaceted, and she could have gone. She's from Peru. She could have gone to Miami and never looked back, and she wants to come back here. And I think that's a great example of what I was trying to get to before. What's a thing that makes the Bonita area unique? We're not Naples. We're not Fort Myers. People are from different places, but everyone wants to come back here.
Yeah, it's a great place to be. But I'm curious for you, as a business owner, as a yo-yo, as someone who's been here and chose to come back.
Right.
If you had a magic wand and you could change one thing about our area right now, what would that be?
Timing of the traffic signals. Cut down the road rage a little bit. I mean, people have to keep moving in. I had this conversation last week with some folks I met who are new to the area, and they were saying, well, gee, yeah, but it's just so crowded here. Are they going to do anything about that? And I said, so basically you want us to let you 2 in, but you're the last 2. It doesn't work that way. It's still beautiful down here. There's nice weather everywhere. But the people that come to this community that are looking for something different, I think that's what creates the magic that we have here. I live in Naples. I love Naples. Fort Myers is great too, but Bonita is really its own thing. I think if traffic moved better, everybody would be a little bit happier. But other than that,
lots of good things happening.
Yeah.
So, well, great. Well, Grant Billings, it's been fun to have a chance to talk to you here on the Bonita Business Podcast.
Pleasure was all mine. Thanks for having me as a guest.
The day I visited Steinway to record this interview, one of Grant's technicians was equipping a piano with the technology so that the piano could play itself from just a click on your iPad. I'd never seen this before. Maybe you have. And the sound? Well, these aren't your old Cracker Barrel player pianos. It's pretty amazing. So what ideas does that generate for you and your business? Are there places where it's time to think differently about your product or service, or even who your customer is today? Grant said his customer isn't the kid who's being forced to learn to play the piano anymore. It's the adult who wants something special in their lives, wants music, wants to create. I hope that you'll find an idea or two here from this interview that you can bring to your career or your business right now. You can see photos in the show notes for this episode at bonitabusinesspodcast.com. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to the podcast updates and email, and you'll be among the first to know about every new episode. And thanks again to Audible, who's offered our listeners a free audiobook when you sign up for a 30-day trial. Just go to audibletrial.com/Coach Darcy, and you can get started right away. I'm Bonita Business Coach Darcy Eikenberg, and now a couple of minutes of concert piano joy played for me by Steinway's Paul Nicodemi. Beautiful Bonita Business. Enjoy. Thank you.